Oh my god. What is this? I know there's no dress code for, like, watching a YouTube video, but the fact that you even let yourself look like that, like, when you're alone, is a gargantuan red flag. It's very you, though. And I appreciate that you're able to keep your individuality intact, at least, you know? That's something worth praising. Just give me a second, alright? You kind of caught me in the middle of something. Anyway, before you so rudely and hideously interrupted me, I was in the middle of, checking through some of the comments on my recent Ray Gun recap episode, and, I gotta just say this. Thank you guys for being so fucking cool and supportive. Even with all the unique bullshit and frustration that comes along with being a content creator person, I just feel unbelievably lucky that I'm able to make a living entertaining you guys. I'm not usually that sincere on here, but I've just been feeling good lately, and I feel like I just want to share that, I guess. That said, some of the comments I got here on this video were, and I mean this in the most kind way possible, staggeringly daft and bewilderingly inept. Now, I'm not one to harp on negative comments, the occasional, like, oh, this one sucked, or Master Chief won't return your calls. Like, I don't really take those to heart anymore. I've been doing this too long. I know that one didn't suck, and I know Master Chief will call me back. But every so often, I'll get a comment that tries to argue with a specific opinion I have in a video, or worse, they'll try to argue with a joke, or just extrapolate some opinion that I didn't express. And they'll write it in a really confident way, completely ignorant to how bad the argument actually is. And I don't like people thinking they're more clever than they are. That I can't do. So today I thought I'd do something a little bit more laid back, a little bit more chill, and just kind of respond to some of the comments that you left that I thought were the most worthy of responding to, because I just feel like making content, and why not? By the way, I've censored all the names here because I just don't want to encourage people going to people's channels and harassing them for no reason. Let's keep this focused on the arguments within the comments and not the people leaving them. I just don't think that's really important. All right, first victim, you're up. Chris Ray Gun seems like he is stuck in the past with the thumbnail and video comedy. Well, the video comedy is certainly from the past. It's my style, and I stick with it, especially for Ray Gun recaps, which I think have like a very specific style and delivery and flow. I'm definitely not trying to be new with the recaps, but what's the problem with the thumbnail? I thought the thumbnail was... I like the thumbnail. Do you know how hard it was to get in that fucking pose? I put myself in peril for you people, and you still don't appreciate anything I do for you. Makes me sick. I mean, the anti-SJW shit died years ago, and what's with the Anne Frank joke? That 4chan type shit is lame, and a little weird because you consider yourself left-leaning. Okay, for context, this is the Anne Frank joke he's talking about. Now, I'll admit, I haven't seen these movies, I haven't read these books, I know fuck all about them. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I'm gonna be real with you, I thought it was just a really insensitive way to refer to Anne Frank for a long time. Come on, dude. I'm sorry, my guy, but if you think that's like a 4chan joke, you haven't been on 4chan. You could play that joke in a Cards Against Humanity game in Los Angeles and still win. Also, can we not just boil down every single bit of commentary on something that's objectively dumb into the genre of anti-SJW? The recap is a compilation of news stories and jokes about said news stories. If you really view that video as an anti-SJW video because I made one edgy joke about a person who's been dead for nearly a century, despite the fact that the rest of the video is absolutely steeped in my left-wing perspective, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to help you through the life that you're living. I urge you to just maybe think of a little bit. Alright, next up we got a comment taking issue with one of my real political opinions that I remember saying a little bit later on in the video, so we're just gonna roll the clip so you have context. I believe that healthcare should be a human right, especially in the richest country in the world. There you go. Now here's the comment. A right shouldn't depend on whether a country has money or not. Healthcare should be a privilege in America, but I don't think it can be considered a right. If America runs out of money, then the right goes away, which means it was never a right. I mean, I don't know about this one. Like, look, if you don't agree that healthcare should be available for everybody, that's fair enough. That's an opinion that, everybody's got an opinion. It's one I disagree with, but you're free to have it. I know I'm personally not a fan of being robbed by insurance companies and living under the threat of being bankrupted by a single unpredictable illness, but that's just me. That's just my irrational brain. But this whole, right privilege discourse, to me, seems a little bit semantic. I find your focus on money to be a little bit bizarre, because if America literally ran out of money, all of your rights go away.
Your rights are only protected because we fund public institutions to protect those rights. Free speech, for example, that is a right that is afforded to you in the First Amendment of the Constitution, freedom of speech. You can say whatever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want, and the government can't penalize you for it. Now, individual people can penalize you. Let's say you say something that offends somebody, they can, like, assault you, but then you can take them to court and you would win that case because you have the right to speak, but they don't have the right to beat you up for that speech. But if America suddenly has no money, you don't have free speech. If you get assaulted on the street for telling a joke or saying something that offended somebody, there's no money to fund the police to respond to your 911 call. There's no public funding for public defenders in the event that you go to court if for some reason the court system still flourished in America with no money. You have a right to public education in America, but that goes away if there's no public funding to fund the teachers or to keep the building maintained, etc., so on and so on. I don't think there's a single right that remains in the absence of the means afforded to that which protects them. And that's not even mentioning the fact that rights vary from country to country, so that alone makes the distinction, basically arbitrary. Rights are rights because we say they are, and there's really nothing all that holistic about them other than the way we feel about them, if that makes sense. GameStop didn't create the NFT, it's just in their marketplace. Yeah, I mean, did I say they made it? GameStop took it upon itself to sell this NFT. Oh, I didn't. So this was just a weird one. Why do you put words in my mouth, guys? I've spent so many years arguing with people who have told me that I said something that I never said, that this shit really fucking bothers me. Just so you know, all your dog shit leftist beliefs are what leads to teabagging being called a sex assault. This is so stupid in so many different ways, it's hard to even know where to start with it. First of all, people who are on the same general side of a political spectrum can disagree on quite a lot. For example, you, on the right, probably generally feel that you don't want the government meddling in absolutely every single affair, and you know what? I can understand and respect that opinion. Just like I, on the left, feel like you shouldn't be penalized for being sick any more than you should be penalized by the police for getting mugged, or penalized from the fire department because you called in about a fire. However, there's probably a loud minority over on your side that also thinks that, hey, yeah, the government shouldn't be meddling in absolutely every single affair. But also, Hitler might have been kind of right, though. If you really, look into the subtext of what he was saying, there's kind of a lot of reason there, Just like there are people over here on the left who probably think, yeah, maybe an ambulance shouldn't cost $5,000 for a 10-minute drive to the hospital. But also, maybe crouching in a video game somehow constitutes sexual assault in real life. There's so many different perspectives everywhere. It's insane that anybody could think that everything just boils down to left and right. It's so fucking staggeringly inept. How could you possibly... if you told me 10 years ago that the right wing would be anti-vax, I would have been surprised by that. Because generally, what I remember from, the early 2010s was that it was a lot of, very, very liberal hippie moms who were like, oh, I don't want to give my son a vaccine because it might make him autistic, and I don't know how I feel about it. And it was distinctly liberal women who were pushing that shit. And now it's every conservative ever is anti-vax. Chris, we're not anti-vax. We're just anti this vaccine. Why? Because it's not FDA approved? Because it's not government approved? The conservatives are telling me they're not taking a vaccine because it's not government approved. Are you serious? It's all just politicized for no reason. I took the vaccine. I'm fine. I don't know what to tell you. That's beside the point. I know a bunch of people are going to be arguing in the comments about this, but it's not the point. The point is, there's a lot of different perspectives everywhere on the political spectrum, and there's plenty of people on the left and the right who fucking vehemently disagree with each other, and that's possible. I know this isn't what the internet teaches us, because the internet is designed around these instantly attainable dopamine loops that keep us, constantly engaged and keep us feeling like we're really superior and keep us feeling smarter than all the idiots that supposedly surround us. But the world really isn't like that. It reminds me of, those TikToks of people going on the street and being like, hey, how many states are in the United States? And then some girl is like, I don't know, 13? And then you think to yourself, wow, what a stupid person. I can't believe our country's failing this bad. And then you go around to every single person that you know personally, every single one of them, and ask them the same question, and they all know the right answer. I lived in Los Angeles for 6 years. I lived in New York for 22. And not once in my entire time in either place did I meet a single person who thought anything along the lines of teabagging is sexual assault. And by the way, just so you remember, it was a very Republican talking point not too long ago that violent video games were actively making your kids violent sociopaths. It's like the fringe crazies on the left are saying, oh, sexual assault in video games is real sexual assault, and then people on the fringe right are being like, violence in video games is real violence. I really hate this very popular idea that only one side is capable of going too far, or only one side is disconnected with reality. When in reality, and I've said this before, stupidity knows no party lines. And by the way, this isn't centrism. This isn't like, oh, maybe we can compromise between slavery and not slavery. I have very strong opinions, and I stand by all of them pretty damn vehemently. I just refuse to play in this weird the left this, the right this playground. I don't like playing in that space. I talk about the specific beliefs I have, the specific beliefs I dislike, the specific people and policy positions that I like, the specific people and policy positions that I dislike, and then we can go from there. Because I hate the way people sound when they talk like that. It makes them sound like these like obnoxious pick-me cheerleader types, and I can't stand it. And so here's where I've boxed you in a little bit. You know, either all of that is true and I'm correct, or all of that is entirely wrong and I'm just this shining, rare diamond in the rough, 1 in a million absolute Giga Chad who happens to have the absolute right opinions and who can tell the difference between fantasy and reality. So, I don't know. You don't have a right to someone else's labor. Fuck off with your healthcare. Wow. I mean, you got me. You're totally right. You know what? In fact, I think I'm going to have to arrest you because I don't think a single person is allowed to be as right as you were. So let me just start the arresting process with you. You are under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Record high inflation, low productivity, and a wide open job market. Chris, I think UBI needs to be a thing. Love you, Chris, but please don't vote. First of all, I didn't say that. Stop. I don't like when people say I said things. This is what I said. I think there's going to be a time in the very near future where we are going to have to seriously consider a universal basic income. The population continues to increase and automation continues to expand, threatening the continued existence of countless fields of employment and expertise. Especially now in a post-pandemic world where the failures of human personnel are insanely relevant, where automation is more attractive to businesses and cheaper than ever because that's just how technology works. We already have artificial intelligences making gorgeous works of art, like genuinely gorgeous paintings that I would hang in my fucking house. We already have artificial intelligences and like robots making YouTube videos and TikToks and all this creative shit. If AI and robots can make creative stuff, your pencil-pushing insurance gig or your like standard-ass fucking stocking shelves, cashier-taking inventory job, those don't stand a fucking chance in the long run. We're probably going to have the first movie written by an AI very soon, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was genuinely great. But you think the way that you flip the pizza is just so irreplaceable? Look, whether you like it or not, there will be a point in time, potentially in the near future, where we are going to have a staggeringly high population of people who are willing and able to work, and not nearly enough jobs to facilitate all of them. It might not happen soon. It might not even happen when I'm fucking 70, but it will happen. Morally speaking, then, what do we do as a country? Like, what if the unemployment rate rises to like 30% and 30% of the country just doesn't have jobs to take? Like, what do you do when 30% of your country can't work? That's like very dystopian, but that's like not... I really need to stress this is not impossible. So do you just get to a point where like 30% of the country is like starving and homeless and the rest of the country is just like, oh well. Is that really like what's gonna I feel like at that point you can't just brush it off to the side. It's not like the homeless problem now where it's like, it's only like a handful, like a small percentage of people, which by the way is also immoral, but like whatever. You can't have 30% of the country jobless. I would just prefer that those 30% weren't starving in the street, personally. I'm an atheist, but, It's just not very Christian. Oh, and side note, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, but that's not even to mention the whole real estate thing. The fact that giant corporations and foreign interests are buying our real estate in bulk in order to basically lock future generations into perpetual rent, preventing them from accruing generational wealth at the same rate that their parents and grandparents did. That's a separate issue, one that I think about a lot, but, you know, that's certainly not going to help. I don't know. These are the things I think about. I'm not saying that UBI is the right answer. I really don't know. All I'm saying is, like, UBI as a premise for that future problem sounds about right, because I don't know what else you could do. I don't foresee a future where we just let a sizable chunk of the population just die and wither. Like, I don't see that happening. At least I don't see that happening without some violent revolution taking place. And ideally, you just don't want... Ideally, that's just not something that you want to happen. You don't want guillotines flying into the streets. Well, maybe. I don't know. That could be cool. That sounds kind of badass, actually. And now, our final comment of the day. Just want to correct you. Metal Gear Solid 2 was the worst one. Metal Gear Solid 3 was the best one. I mean, the worst one was Metal Gear Solid 4, and it's not even close. Metal Gear Solid 3 I respect, though. It's a respectable choice because there's an ape escape in it. And I like ape escape. Anyway, that's about all I have to say today. Video's running a little long. I really just wanted to expand on some of the stuff that I actually think, because the recaps really just aren't the place for that. The recaps are a place for jokes and just kind of fucking around and doing dumb skit shit. It's not a place for in-depth examinations of political opinions or nuances and perspectives and shit. It's just not the format for that. This was actually kind of more of a glasses off than I anticipated, huh? It's actually serious, kinda. One thing I will say is I don't really give a shit if I convinced you or not, because that's not really what I'm here to do. I'm just here so you know where I'm at, what I think, because I don't know, I guess that's like slightly valuable. Anyway, that's it. I guess this is goodbye. Oh, look at all that. Look at that. Check it out. It's a bunch of boxes. You know, if you click these boxes, it'll take you to other videos of mine. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy what modern science can do? Don't you feel like a fucking weirdo that you're living in this magical time where you can transport yourself to different videos like that? Anyway, see ya.